Ready. Ready. Some say we're recording now. You're not rubbing aloe vera on yourself. I don't want you slapping it. It's a fucking highlight. That's gonna clip. Put it away.
Hello and welcome to the Little Things in Life podcast with me, Katie.
And me, Tom.
This is episode 9 and episode 4 of the isolation tapes. We're back again.
We are. It's great to be back. Recording this on a Saturday. I had an exam yesterday. Have we ever recorded an episode on a Saturday before?
We have not, I don't think.
God.
It's going down in history.
The weekend starts now, apparently. Yeah.
Happy Saturday and all.
Happy Saturday, yeah. It has been a happy Saturday.
Well, the weather's lovely here. I don't know about
The sun
you.
is shining, the sky is blue.
It's not the nicest day of the week, though. Like, it's been a lot nicer weather-wise this week.
Do you think
we move?
Do you think the weather is God looking out for us during these bizarre times?
Yes, I do. I think we have been so blessed. Imagine it was pouring down with rain every day that we've been in quarantine. What?
Oh, so that's the connection made that a very delayed reaction. I'll edit it out. It's fine.
Okay. No, I think we've been very blessed with the weather because I was thinking if the weather had been awful and everyone's been stuck inside, not been able to do any exercise or any stuff outside, that would have been awful.
Yeah, I find my mood does vary a lot depending on how sunny it is outside. I'm just naturally happier with good weather. That's why I'm always so miserable in Manchester.
That's what I was to say. You naturally happy.
I am. Oh my god, I'm bubbly. Nah,
Let's
go. It's because the sun's shining, Kate. Yeah, no. If it's grey and miserable, so am I. I've discovered.
Well, God, I can't wait to see you when you're old, grey and miserable. And what about the weather?
Speaking of old people, we'll be getting onto that later on.
Yeah, I was about to say not just yet, Tom.
I thought it would have been a great. We need to get better at this. That would have been a great link. Anyway, Katie, another week's passed. How you been doing?
I've been good. Not too bad as you would say.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Been soaking up the sunshine. My freckles have come out. I've got a tan line on my feet from where my sliders have been. Not got a lot of work done, but been reading. I'm on to another book now called Notes on a Nervous Planet. Really good, really interesting. Would recommend to a friend. I saw it on Talia's Instagram, so Talia's housemates with the famous Amy Maltlow, vegan queen. And I saw a page on her Instagram and I messaged her. So I thought I would have a bit of a read of it. And it's basically about like anxieties today and like the society that we live in. And yeah, definitely worth a read.
Do you feel enlightened now you've started this new hobby? Because I remember reading about Chernobyl being like, when you finish a book that's like a couple of like an inch, 2 inches thick, you're like, fucking hell, yeah, I'm the man. Do you get the same vibe? Because
that was me. I was like,
since we've last spoke about my 23 things they don't tell you about capitalism, I've read nothing of it. Absolutely nothing. It's just I need to finish it. You've
been busy doing other things. Like you've been doing a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I had my thermodynamics exam.
Exactly.
So I read a lot of thermodynamics, but I remember I bashed through 3 books in like 2 weeks. I was like, God.
But you can.
Easy.
You can when you've not got other things to do. I mean, obviously, I do have other things to do, but I've been focusing on doing a bit of reading. But it is not a nice feeling reading a book.
To be fair, though, that book's only like 300 pages, but it may as well be like 900 because you have to read everything 3 times, otherwise you don't understand.
I think it's good to read a book that makes you properly think. It's quite thought-provoking. And like this is like, I think I've come to the conclusion that fiction books aren't really my thing. I'm not really very imaginative and I prefer like real life.
Yeah, I feel the same. I also think, because like there's so much good fiction on TV, I think books need to be like, I think it's more beneficial reading non-fiction. I don't know, maybe. Like off the cuff thoughts. I think non-fiction, you learn, like, because you're learning stuff and like thinking about things. And like, I don't know, books are good, but so's The Sopranos.
Yes.
And I don't think that's
Ooh.
not like, obviously everyone's like, oh, the book's better than the film. That's not the case with The Sopranos because there ain't a book.
Well, Tom, oh gosh, you say about the series. Have been told by so many people to start watching Friday Night Dinner. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't...
Oh right. What's so funny?
Well, not Friday Night Dinner apparently. There's one what's the character called?
Everyone.
The guy with the dog called Winston. Jim. Jim's the only. Is it Jim? Jim's the only good. I watched it a while ago. I didn't think it was very good.
Tom, it perfectly matches my humour, I think, and I
Severely
find
lacking.
I find the silliest of things funny.
It's just the funniest character is the weird guy keeps on knocking at the door with his dog. The rest of the whole series, like the husband and wife have no chemistry in it, and that's what I think that's telltale of acting, is if you don't really have any empathy with the married couple. It's the same with that film Submarine. The mum and the dad are just not. I don't know if it's acting or whether they're supposed to. Well, I suppose actually, yeah, they're supposed to not really like each other. But the mum in the film Submarine makes me angry because she's just so not motherly. And it's the same with Friday Night Dinner.
Right, calm down. I mean, a lot of people have said I'll find it funny. However, you might find it a little bit repetitive because it's just like similar thing. But it's just quite an easy watch.
Yeah, I don't know.
You really don't look very happy. I'm sorry. I like this program, and I'm not really one to watch series either. I mean, obviously, Tiger King, that is a must watch. I don't think I've mentioned it on this before.
No, I don't think you have.
Tiger King has kept me going. That's all I'm going to say.
Once I finish The Sopranos,
Tom, you have to. You can
Wire.
literally, you can sacrifice like an hour out of your day to watch Tiger King.
I can't.
Why?
Because where's my Soprano hour then going to go? I have a perfectly planned out day. Now, to be fair, because this is something that's been really annoying me about since being in isolation. My family has been like obviously collectively watching TV's now become a thing because everyone's always in all the time. And
Yeah.
we've started the thick of it. We've started The Wire. We've started This Country. Mum now wants to start rewatching Gavin and Stacey. They started watching some Vicar of Dibley as well. I'm just like, hold on, one at a time. Surely they're watching. It's not Fresh. It might be Fresh Meat or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something. They're watching by themselves as well. I'm just like, one at a time, two at a time, if needs must. But
This Country, that is so funny.
that is really good. Yeah, I find
that is just. I haven't religiously watched that ever, and I need to like go over it. But that's so funny.
I only realised as well that they're brother and sister in real life only recently. I was like, it's really, really good. It's really funny.
It's definitely worth it. But
Someone's
please,
been throwing plums at my house again.
Tom, please watch Tiger King.
Yeah, I will eventually. I will get.
Do you want me to like? I'm trying to think. I'll pay you £1 if you watch it tomorrow. That's my olive branch. I'm passing over to you. Look at you considering having £1.
A pound an episode.
No.
£1 if I watch the whole thing tomorrow.
£1 if you watch one episode tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. PayPal me. Yeah, if I'm getting paid for it, I may as well. Or £2.
No, £1.
£1.50.
Don't be cheeky. I've said
This is
£1.
like me selling my things on eBay all over again. £45. You're not getting it. I'm throwing in free postage.
Right, calm down. Well, I was looking at getting some earrings before because I was thinking about small businesses right now, and I was thinking they need a bit of help.
I love this excuse for people. When they're online shopping, I'm thinking of small businesses. Even I'm like, I suppose, yeah, that's something I can sort of think about more, especially because like we've got our student loan in as well, and because apart from rent, no one's paying anything anymore.
No,
because everyone's living with their most people are living with parents' families, so they don't have to worry about spending all this money on things because no one's going out and doing anything. You're not spending money on things like that anymore. So students, I've got loads of money at the moment. I'm just feeling like, I don't really know what to do with it. And I'm so used to not having any money living at uni. It's bizarre.
With like I think we're in the best position possible as students for the financial situation that might be like occurring. I think we're in the best position.
Oh, I don't know, because we're going to start working during the aftermath of all this. I don't know. And Brexit.
Well,
God,
you might.
That's
No,
another
you-
podcast. No, I'm joking. We're never doing a podcast.
No, we're not.
I don't know. I think. Well, they've gone from saying there's definitely going to be a recession to there's probably going to be a recession. So things are looking good. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, I still think there's definitely going to be a recession.
But I was thinking today I needed to
The
get
little things in life cheering you up. Cheering your day up. It's going to be worse than 2008. It's going to be absolutely unprecedented. There's nothing we can do about it. No, I don't know. It can't be worse than 2008 because it's I think it's straight away things going to start getting better. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the reason I just said about the little businesses because I need to get a new piercing for my helix, and I was like, why am I gonna like? What's so funny?
No, I'm sorry. Carry on.
And I was like, why am I just gonna go to somewhere that everyone's gonna go? So I've been finding little businesses, so I'm gonna try and order some bits.
To be fair, no. The reason I laughed is because I was watching Have I Got News For You last night, and they said on that there's some American state is relaxing the lockdown rules, and they're opening up essential shops. And one of the shops that they classed as being essential was tattoo and piercing shop. And I was just like, oh, so you need to go to whatever state that was.
Well, Tom, whilst being in isolation, I realised I would like 2 more piercings on my ears, and I think when it's over, I'd like a 3rd one on this side and another like helix one on the other.
Gosh.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to be, well, I think a lot of people, because like there are people who are like halfway through like big tattoos. Obviously, like, they're just walking around with like half-finished things on them.
But you were telling me about the nose piercing that you wanted after isolation.
That's just not true. Oh dear.
Oh, Tommy, you're getting a bit shy now.
No, I would never. Why on earth, out of all the piercings, would I get a nose piercing? My God.
Oh, anyway, shall we
dive
get
into the filling of the role that is the Little Things in Life podcast? I don't think I did that last week, did I?
I think you did.
My little trademark, did I? Oh.
No, maybe not, because we just carried on.
Well, you might have guessed from the title. We're talking about old people this week. It's not the wage gap, it's the age gap.
It's the age gap.
What are old people good for? We're about to find out.
So we were sort of thinking this week to talk about basically the difference between our generation and the elderly, and in terms of this all came about because we were talking about how we were speaking to our grandparents in isolation, and how it's been not the simplest personally with my grandparents, well, my dad's mum, to get her using my dad's old iPad, and trying to explain to her how to use it. You know, it's the simplest of things. It's like second nature to us, but trying to get my grandma to answer the phone, to answer the iPad when we're calling, it hasn't been very easy, and making sure it's not on silent, like trying to teach her the buttons, and she's like, oh, does this lock it? And I'm like, no, Grandma, that's the volume button. So it's not been the easiest of processes, but it just signifies like that is grandparents now. What are we going to be like when we're older?
Yeah.
Will we like have the struggle that they've had? Obviously, we've been brought up with all this technology, but when it comes to, I think about my grandma, she could literally show me how to use a sewing machine because I have no idea what to do myself. But when it comes to my phone, which I like have whenever I see her, really, she's like, oh, how do you charge that? Do you replace it with batteries? I'm like, no, Grandma, I use a charger. It's like it's rechargeable, and it's the same old conversation. So
yeah, I think because it's become quite a prominent thing. Is it an issue? Maybe not. We might find out in 25 minutes time.
I was about to say in this episode with our scientific evidence.
We might come to a conclusion if it is a problem or not. But yeah, it has become a more prominent thing. Certainly in the current crisis we find ourselves in. Yeah, we had the same thing where FaceTiming you FaceTime your grandparents, and first thing they do is hold it up like a normal phone, so it's like you're giving them an ear exam. You're just like, no, look at us. But no, I mean, but thankfully both my grandparents have got to terms with it quite easily.
That's really good.
It's been quite a smooth transition. But yes, we were talking about this when we were planning episodes weeks ago, and we had quite a long conversation about it. And we were like, actually, let's turn this into a podcast. I think that was the day where my grandma had emailed me. Not had emailed me, had rung us up being like, I can't get hold of the pharmacy. And because she obviously, old people need things from pharmacies. And she was like, the only thing on their answer phone is just an email. They just say, if you need to contact us, use this email address. And whenever I try to email them, it won't work. I don't know if you can help me out with this, Tom. She was like, yeah, the email is something .connect. And I was like, it can't be an email if it doesn't have @ something in it. She was like, oh,
yeah.
It says, if you listen to the voicemail, it says someone's name .connect. I was like, that is not an email address. I'm not surprised why it's not working. But obviously to her, like, she has no idea.
She wouldn't know. No.
But we resolved the problem fairly quickly. But yeah, that was just one of the things that obviously for us, it's second nature. We know immediately what an email address looks like. But for someone elderly, they're obviously not going to.
And it's like my grandparents are very intelligent. Like, they're not stupid at all. And I'm not saying with technology it makes them look stupid, but when you're trying to explain these things, and obviously it's not going to be the easiest for them because they've never used it before. I mean, it's different. My mum's mum doesn't have a mobile phone. She doesn't have a washing machine. She doesn't have a dishwasher. She very much lives like she used to. So I suppose you could say,
I think that's not unusual. I bet loads and loads. Well, my grandma doesn't have a dishwasher, but I think loads and loads of people are going to be.
I mean, I don't have a dishwasher.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be a particularly prominent problem in Wales. Obviously, in England, obviously not. Most people have dishwashers.
But I think in terms of that, when I look at my mum's mum, so my grandma, there is a huge age gap, and the understanding of, like, she doesn't understand Facebook. She has no idea about social media.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing. I mean, I don't actually know what that will be in her mind. Like, I don't know what she thinks us youngsters do, but like when she's always said to me about like reading, and she says to me about sewing. I mean, obviously, I picked up my reading now. She says, Katie, do you read ghost stories? I'm like, no, I don't read ghost stories. But she always says to me about sewing. And I'm like, but she's like, looks at when she was younger and what she used to do. It's like, so she used to sew. Like, that was something that she used to do. But obviously times have changed. But she, like, hasn't necessarily moved with those times because...
Yeah, well, no, I think it's definitely true. You have, like, your prime ages are probably the age that you're working, so you get to 60s and 70s and then you retire, but all that time society, life, the world is kind of like moving on without you once you reach retirement. So I think your prime is what you associate, like, I don't know, life to be like, or like the right way of living is the way that you lived, because that's all you've known. But I think it's obviously natural for things just to like move on without you, and I think they obviously do, but I think it's definitely going to be the case with us. But my grandma said to me on FaceTime the other day how, like, she should probably be better on her phone and stuff than she already is. I was like, I said, like, I don't think so. I was like, you're in the fact that, she was talking about how she uses WhatsApp. She's in her 70s, she uses WhatsApp. Don't worry.
That's really good.
At least it's not the clicking of your pen and not the clicking of your highlights and the slapping. Gosh, I'm going to leave that in the introduction, by the way, than me having a go at you for clicking your pen.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
In the introduction?
Yeah, obviously I recorded that. Yeah, I thought you meant, did I hear that just now? Yeah, everyone heard it. I'm not going to be able to edit something like that out. Anyway, as I was saying.
I'm sorry.
God, I've lost my train of thought.
You were talking about your grandma WhatsApp.
And I was like, I think it's just like the fact that you can use WhatsApp, the fact you can video call us is already like, that's fine. It's natural. And the example I used to her, again, plugging other podcasts. I used the example of on the Fighter Pilot podcast where
our rivals.
Well, one day they'll know. But they use this example of this guy was talking about his transition into well, he was a Navy pilot, and he was talking about the transition between planes. And so he started, obviously, the transition from in US Navy flew F4 Phantoms, and they flew to F-14. My God, I'm currently watching two pigeons mate on the roof.
I was really
Oh
confused where
my
that story was going.
God. Vivid. Anyway, my word, these are filthy pigeons. So they went from F4 Phantoms to F-14s to now they fly F-18s, and he was saying that he remembers old pilots from the old type of planes saying to him like, "Oh, the young people, like young guys, just come in and they get the new technology that the new planes have straight away." And he then said, he was talking and he then said, and then I remember I said that to a pilot, "God, you young guys get this stuff straight away." And then I froze, and I remember that this guy said that to me. And that is a thing. Like, I think you are just, as a young person, I don't know if it's, well, I think it must be something genuinely to do with your brain. You are just so much better at taking stuff in.
Learning.
That better not be fucking aloe vera you're rubbing on yourself right now. My God. I don't know if you were listening, listeners, last week. We're keeping all this in, Katie. Last week, I don't know, at some point through our, or maybe it was the week before, our random questions, you may have heard a slapping noise, which was Katie through the episode. Oh, never mind the constantly clicking of her highlighter, which I didn't realise until I had to go for an edit. Obviously, some are left in, but the whole, all the way through last week was this noise in the background, which is obviously.
You sound a little bit salty, Tom.
I'm
Okay?
incredibly angry. Yeah, because I'm the one who has to edit the podcast. And then, to top it all off, she starts rubbing this cream on her. Obviously, I can see her at the moment. She's, like, on Skype. And then she just, in answering one of the questions, she just goes... and she's, like, slapping this cream on her. And I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? We're trying to film a podcast here. My God.
I'm sorry.
It's all right for you. You don't have to go back and listen to it and edit it.
Look, you will not be able to hear me slapping this on.
We're trying to have a very serious conversation about the age gap.
And you're the one that's gone off on a tangent, Tom.
Well, no. Well, what I was going on to say was it's most prominent, I think, with like things like languages, and obviously Katie, we have an expert with us in our midst. I was thinking as well, this would be great if we had an old person on, wouldn't it? Our first guest should have been.
Oh my gosh, I should so call my grandma and ask her.
We'll get her on the line. But the younger you are, the easier it is to learn languages.
So if hopefully I do become like fluent in German, I would teach my child German and English.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of the biggest failings of our education. I think that languages should be compulsory because it's such a good. I cannot speak any other language for shit, but it would be so useful, and you feel so lazy going to other countries. Obviously, we are quite lucky that English is fairly widely spoken, but it's just if we started learning either French, German, Spanish or like even like something like Mandarin, maybe from like the age we start having English lessons, by like year 5, you're going to be fluent. You're going to be fine because you're already fluent in English. And if you're doing it at school every day, then you're not speaking it necessarily outside of school, but obviously it works all throughout Europe.
Well, obviously that's easier said than done because the parent, it needs to be implemented at some point, and the parents need to be able to teach it.
Yeah, but it could get to the point where the first generation knows it, their children then do it, and then but obviously they might not necessarily be the same language. But
I mean, the amount of people studying a language is falling a lot, year by year going to uni, it's going down, especially my course over the past 4 years, it's gone down so much.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was never that good at it, but I did want to learn it, but I'd stopped doing it because I was like, well, if I do it at GCSE, I'm just going to get a D or an E in it. My French lessons just consisted of us watching French films and us making up our own subtitles for them because we had no idea what was going on. I was bottom set French. So they gave up on us. It was the only thing I was bottom set in. I was top set everything else but French, where I was bottom set. And we would just sit there and make up our own subtitles for French films. But had I have started learning French from reception year 1 as opposed to year 8, not year, oh no, I think we started in year 3, but not very it was like half an hour a week in year 3. I think it was when we started learning French, and you know, I could be here bilingual, you know, skilled. But
you could, but you're not.
I'm a lazy English person, yeah, who can only speak English.
But anyway,
I know.
back to the age gap.
No, but it's linked into this idea of the younger you are, the more easier it is to learn things. It becomes, especially things like language, it's very prominent in languages.
Yes, but also I do think with like older, like especially my grandma, like she's not fussed about having to learn about like, you know, learning how to use Facebook or Messenger. She doesn't know. I don't think she knows what Wi-Fi is. Like, I'm talking about my grandma as if like she's not got anything going on in her head. Like, she's a very bright woman.
Definitely not. No.
But like the whole idea of social media and everything, it's alien to her.
Yeah,
like,
because whenever this comes up with one of my grandparents, she's always like, "Oh, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook," as if that's going to shock me. And I'm like, "Well, of course you're not." Like,
no.
Certain people, like, you just would not. No one expects 70, 80-year-olds to be using Instagram or Facebook. They have no need for it. Really, it's going to be so foreign to them. There's no point. Like, there's no point teaching them something either, or them like worrying the fact they don't know how to do something when really there is no need for them to be using it.
I think that's so impressive though that your grandma has like uses WhatsApp and stuff.
Well, it is, yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I should probably know more." But it's like, no, I think you already know loads.
Really good.
You know, you shouldn't think like that. And there's no point you learning loads of things, or like loads of different ways to use a smartphone if you're never going to use it. You know, you're perfectly happy living how you are.
Yeah.
It only improves your life up to a certain extent. You know, if you're happy, don't worry.
Similar to you though, when I have like in the past tried to teach my grandma, like before we gave her my dad's old iPad, she had a tablet, so it wasn't as easy to use, because to be fair, an iPad is fairly simple. You know, like just click this button, click that, and you're on to like Messenger. But whereas other tablets aren't that simple. Anyway, she said, like, I spent a long time with her, like this was like before isolation. I swear this was like a couple of years ago. And she was like, "Katie, like, she's like, I'm really, really sorry. Like, I'm just finding it hard and like really frustrating." I'm like, that's completely understandable. Like, this is so new for you. I'm trying to think like what it would be for us.
Well, I do remember being a kid not knowing how. I used to, you know, the first ever phones used to have Snake, and I do remember sitting waiting for my sister. We used to pick up my sister from middle school. Mum would pick me up from school, and then we'd drive to pick up my sister. And I'd be sitting in the car, and I'd be like, "Oh, Mum, let us play Snake on the old black and white 8-bit Nokia brick phones." And
Amazing.
I remember playing Snake and being like, you know, sometimes you'd go off the game and I'd be like, "Oh my God, Mum, something's happened. Like, I don't know what to do." And I remember being really intimidated, being like, Hannah would come and be like, "Oh, I really want a phone," and I'd be like, "I don't want a phone. I have no idea how to use them." Obviously, I was like in year 2 or year 3. I ended up getting a phone in like year 5, which I think is probably the right age to get one, when you start like going, "Oh, but this was something else we talked about actually." Well, this is slightly different to what we're talking about now, but like, what age do you think is the right age to give children smartphones? We'll touch on that next week, because next week we're going to talk about social media. But I do remember at the time being really intimidated by phones, but obviously not now.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, but
because that's interesting, your thought process. Did you say you were annoyed?
I wasn't annoyed. No, I knew. I was afraid. I was intimidated. I didn't know how to use. I mean, I was young. I didn't know how to use this phone. I didn't want to ring someone by accident on it. You know, I had no concept of like there being a menu with like an address book. All I knew is Mum could get it on this game for me, and I could then play Snake by pressing these 4 buttons. I had no idea what else to do. And obviously, you know, that would have been 15 years ago, roughly.
That's
a little bit less.
Such a weird thought.
But also, like, obviously, we're this week you'll be pleased to hear, listeners. I got my other computer working, so we're back recording the podcast using 2 computers, which is making my job easy. Last week I had to, in order to get this computer to work, I had to wipe it completely, get a USB, download Windows on a USB, plug it in, and do a complete factory reset that way. And I was like, God, even that, then I was like a bit sweaty, being like, "Oh my God, like I'm completely Well, I wasn't sweaty, but it was intimidating, and but there's not much. So even in our generation, you are intimidated by technology. But even my mum says that to me. Mum says things to me where she's like, "Oh, I am really intimidated by how certain technology, certain parts of the internet work."
Is that with like in terms of like maybe cookies and stuff?
Well, I'm
like
just trying
adverts?
to think now. What she means by it, but I
mean,
just
I
think
understand.
certain things in general.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I mean, for us, when we like click like accept all cookies, or like when we make an account with something, like we don't really generally do people really read the terms and conditions.
No,
But I know like with older people, like my mum,
yeah.
I'm not saying she's old. Well, no, I'm not. But like she will properly have a think, and she's like, I don't want them to have all this information.
No, yeah. And
But I think that
my dad's the same. He's like, oh, I don't want Facebook knowing all this thing about knowing everything about me. Like, so my mum has all social media, but my dad only has WhatsApp, which is all he needs, and he's got no need to get any, and he's not complaining about it really.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Like, I mean, I also think sometimes, do you know how like this is a weird thought. Do you know how some people say that young people are addicted to their phones?
Yeah.
But I sometimes think, obviously, I mean, it's different for us, I think, or in my family, I think me and my brothers have more people to talk to than my parents do, because social media.
That's true. I'd say it's true with everyone.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, that's good. I wasn't sure, like, if it was just like us or whatever, but like in general, and I think the amount that we talk to people. But then I look at like my parents and how long they spend speaking to people, like like messaging people. It takes them a lot longer. It's like compose a message.
They send longer messages, yeah, because we're like constantly chatting to people.
Yeah, but do you know like how the idea that we're addicted to our phones, but like we're talking to different people all the time. But like my mum will be on her iPad and she'll be speaking to one person, but it takes her a long time. And like in the meantime, like I will have messaged multiple people. I don't know if that makes sense. Saying it out loud.
Yeah, they do, because we are constantly talking to lots of people, and so there's this argument that's like, are we actually being antisocial? But yeah, whereas old people, like as you grow up, obviously because we're at uni, we've just come out of school, we're still in touch with a lot of people that way.
Yeah,
I think, and obviously you all live in the same place, so you're naturally going to be talking and seeing each other more. Well, obviously not right now, but as you grow up, you sort of lose touch with friends you don't speak to them all the time. Especially
for like my grandparents, like they don't have like that many people to be talking to online.
Yeah,
they're not going to be. My grandma's not going to be like, oh, Joan down the road. Let's see what she's posted on Instagram.
Yeah, well, my grandma, we talked. The whole point, we got her on WhatsApp. Thankfully, before the whole COVID crisis, because we got her a new phone for Christmas, because she was like, I just want something. She had like an old brick phone and she wanted something simpler, and she literally went to a car phone warehouse shop and was like, I just want this but simpler, and the guy was like, you're not gonna get something simpler than that. But she ended up getting like a very low end like Samsung smartphone, but and then we managed to use WhatsApp, and obviously it's been a godsend at the moment, because like she's managing to talk to loads and loads of people, but it's got to the point where she's like, some of my friends are just always on it. I was like, we haven't told her how to mute people, because obviously we're worried that that's going to be quite technical and she's going to end up doing something, so she just turns it off. So it's got to the point where it's connecting her, but she's like, she's so annoyed by people messaging these group chats all the time that she just turns it off.
But isn't it interesting there, you're saying we're worried that it might be a little bit too technical, as if
we'd do it if we were there. Well, I mean, we could tell her how to do it.
I know, but like the way that you're thinking, the way that I'm thinking, it's like too technical, as if they're like with young children, like that's a little bit too much for them to do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because it's something, because it's so, it's just not.
I'm not worried. Yeah, I suppose it is a bit condescending, but I'm worried it's going to do more harm than good. And like she's found a solution, which is just to turn her phone off when she doesn't want to talk to people. That's working.
That's fair.
But I was like, though, thinking back to, I remember this was something that I said to you when we were talking about it, when we were planning episodes, as I said that I remember as well sitting in the computer suite at my primary school, and everyone else is playing like CBBC, Lego.com games online, mini clip games. And I remember just sitting there being like, I don't know how to get on the internet. I don't know
See,
how to get on the internet. Like, I had a Nintendo Wii. I don't know if I had a PlayStation, but like going on the internet was not something I did. We had one computer and I just played various games on it. I'd never gone on the internet really to play games. And I remember like genuinely just sitting there being like, I don't know how to get onto whatever all these guys
that's
are doing.
so
I just sort
interesting.
of sat there and I don't know if I can't remember what happened. I must have asked someone to help.
Aww.
I mean,
Oh,
I would have been
little
really
Tom.
young. This would have been year 2 or less, year 3 or less. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, and I think it's going to happen to us. Society moves on without you. But I think as
Ooh.
well, when they were our age, the world was very different. It doesn't excuse their casual racism and their politics, but naturally it's going to be quite different maybe from time
But
to time.
some grandparents are very much up on the time. Like Beth, her grandma is so up with it. Like she's on Facebook, posts on Facebook a lot, like Instagram. I'm pretty sure she uses Instagram. Like she's very much on it. And I look at her and I look at my grandma and I'm like, these are two completely different types of
Yeah.
people.
And you
There is
play,
a bit
yeah.
there is a bit of a difference in age, but like at the end of the day, I don't think over 10 years maybe at that point is a massive difference.
Yeah, and whenever you're like, when it comes to like Christmas and stuff, and you're playing like general knowledge, like board games or something, you're always like, I want as many old people on my team as possible because they know the answer to these questions because
Yeah.
they've lived through, everything basically. Do you think though, Katie, that something should be done to address problems that the age gap brings about? I don't know if it would be like more available classes for old people to become sort of tech savvy.
Well, there are
More
see
things
there
to
are
integrate young people and old people, like young people going into care homes maybe, or do you think that it's just natural? There's nothing we can do, and it's not. There's not much point addressing the problem because it's not a massive problem anyway.
I don't think it's a massive problem. I think there's a problem with the like the stereotypical opinion of like young people that older people have. That this stereotypical one, I mean, like people wearing hoodies that they're thugs,
Yeah.
or bad manners, or like that people are troublemakers. That type of thing. I think that is an issue, but I think that's just something that I don't know if that would ever change. But in terms of like you saying about like the tech thing and like young people helping older people, like my grandma's been to some like classes, like she's been to the library where they provide like help on how to use computers, and I suppose but I don't know if that's fully helped, but I just also
Do you
think
do you think we should have? So you're not sure if we need more stuff like that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal. I'm thinking certain things maybe be useful, like just very basic things for older people to understand. But but for my grandma to understand what Facebook is, it's just pointless.
Yeah, I think unless you see a way it's going to really improve their lives, I don't think it's something you should worry yourself with too much. Maybe.
No.
But we saw this idea of like the stereotype of young people being always on their phones. We saw this even in our lifetimes with TV. And
Yes.
No one nowadays, no one other than old people, watch TV really. It's all about on demand, Netflix, BBC iPlayer. You watch things when it suits you, not when it's on TV now. And I remember my grandparents saying to me, "God, kids are always watching TV." Now they're saying kids are always on their phones.
Always on their phones.
But when they were our age, they wouldn't have been able to comprehend something like a smartphone. And
No, but
obviously, when something so foreign's like been introduced, like society moves on very quick. Things happen, things change very quickly. When something that foreign is, such a big part of a lot of people's lives, like social media has become a big part of a lot of people's lives. You naturally see hostile things in a negative light, but I'm not sure if it really is.
The thing is, though, as well, like for, I think every young person, and I mean for everyone, there are things. It's fashion. Like I suppose, would you say that social media is like a fashion, or it's a phase? It is really important in our lives. You know, and also for some older people, it is part of their lives in terms of like, you know, people rely on the internet for like their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, we use social media every day. It has become part of
I
our
mean,
lives.
imagine right now we had no social media,
Yeah,
and
we said that
in
last week.
terms of
Yeah.
uni.
Oh
So,
yeah, well, and just general like being able to stay in contact with people in isolation. Yeah.
like when we were younger as well, like everyone had their DSs.
Yeah.
You know, like it's different things. And when our parents were younger, there will have been things that like
Yeah.
they were on. I bet grandparents then were like, oh, they're always doing this, or they're always doing that.
But you do see things like that coming back. Like I played on my PS3 the other day. Obviously,
Your PS3.
my PS3 and the nostalgia of playing these games that I played when I was like in year 6, year 7. It was really really good. But
Oh my
also you
gosh,
see like
Game Boy.
yeah, and like vinyl records, like they're coming back. Game Boys are
Yeah,
still quite big. Like they're quite to get a Game Boy on eBay. I think they're quite pricey because they're
really.
like yeah, they're old. Obviously, they're not made anymore, and they're coming back. But also, I was thinking we touched on this in I think it was episode 3 when we were talking about what age would you live at, and there's this idea amongst old people that things are getting worse. Like if you could live in any time period, which one would it be and why? And everyone said pretty much the last 50 years was like I'd say 80-90% of the time periods people chose were sort of from the 50s onwards. And I think you notice if things are getting worse in society when you don't notice when things are getting better. But I think things are pretty good now. You look at like science, technology, our ability to do things. Obviously,
Mm,
for certain things are getting worse. You might say like the political climate's worse, and obviously the environment's worse. But things are being
mm.
done to do it now. Like medicine's obviously as good as it's ever been, but you only think about things that are getting worse. And if the world has changed so much that when the world is now so much different to how it was when you were, in your prime,
Yeah.
you're going to be quite hostile to that.
But everything has changed so much for us, and we've been here for 20 years.
Yeah,
Like, what's it? Well, I haven't been here for 20 years yet, but
20
like,
years is a long time though.
it is a long time. But like, what about when we're like 80? What are there going to be that many changes, that many developments where we wouldn't understand things and how to use it?
I think yes. I definitely
Do
think so.
I
Yeah.
see? I'm not sure.
I think
I
yeah.
think
I think even now, like things like I don't only because you like understand how to use things like TikTok. I don't use TikTok. I don't get that. That is very
yeah, but
foreign to me. You
yeah,
know.
but if
But no,
you
it's gonna.
like.
But it starts with things like that, doesn't it? And then I think it's gonna get. There's gonna be more and more. I'm not concerned about it, but I think yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I hope not, because I wouldn't want to be in a position where I don't understand these things, and I hate
Mm,
not fully understanding things. I really don't like that. So
yeah.
maybe optimistic me is hoping that that won't be the case, but who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, it's going to be weird seeing old people, like people growing up with social media. People in their
Yeah.
70s or 80s. I don't know how, if they'll. I have no idea if I get to 70 or 80, if I'll still be using social media and stuff like that. I don't know.
Who knows?
At the moment, I assume so, but that is a weird thought. Another weird thing, just to slide it in, was watching The Sopranos yesterday. Tony paid for a meal with a check. No one does that now.
No,
Paying for a
no.
meal with a check. Actually wrote out a check.
Well, paying a lot of things with a check.
That's another
Like,
thing that probably exacerbates the age gap.
like at work, when people pay for like memberships for the zoo or something, and they pay for a check with a check, it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Online banking and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually saying that, I watched there's anything to do with online banking though. Last night I was just scrolling through Instagram and this was just me. I went on someone's Instagram story. Miles Hendrick is this DJ. Well, he's a DJ in LA, but he's also a photographer. Goes to all these like big celebrity parties. But if you check it, he's got 40,000 followers on Instagram. He was obviously he lives in LA, so the time difference. He was doing a DJ set at like midnight last night. But obviously it was sort of like, early evening for him.
Mhm.
And I I watched the story, and as I was watching it, I accidentally pressed the heart emoji. You know, when you watch stuff on Instagram, emojis come up on the bottom, and it sent it. And like, I called it quite early on. There was only about 100 people watching, and he goes on his mic and he's like, "Sending love right back to you, Tom." And I was sat there like, "Oh my god!" Like, I've accidentally just pressed heart. But then, and I was like, surely not. And I was like, checking his followers, like, this guy's got 40,000 followers, about 100, 200 people watching this DJ set. He's just shouted on his microphone, sending a big love back to you. So I scrolled up through the chat, and the guy who sent the message before my smiley face was just like, was a guy, someone famous called Tom, because he was verified. And he was like, "Oh, sending big love to you," or something. And I was sat there in bed being like, I didn't even mean to watch it. He just chatted. He's like, if only he knew that I just like accidentally clicked on this in bed in Bury St Edmunds. But no, I was talking to someone else. I was
on the other side of the world.
I know. But that was But
even that,
clicking things up, didn't mean to.
Even that, like emojis, like that's something that's been in the last few years. Like when we're older, like what's it gonna be? What's gonna be the
where they can go really from here. Emojis. We've sort of
because I think so much has changed in our lifetime already. But like, what else can change? You know how Busted said about the year 3000 and living underwater?
Yeah.
Like,
well, then there's the future, Back to the Future, where they expected us to live on hoverboards and stuff now.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
So we really haven't come to any conclusion. The age gap's a scary thing, but I think we've just got to ride that wave.
Gotta ride the age gap.
Well,
wave.
it's not. I don't think it's a negative thing. I don't know.
I don't think it's a problem either. It just shows the difference in generations. It's just natural.
I think it can become a problem. I think we need to reassure old people. We need to help them where we can, help them where they can't help themselves. And if they can improve their lives through using it, we should help them to do that. And I think for people who don't have like families to help them do that, they should get help in other ways. But
yeah, maybe more support.
It's not the most prominent of problems, and I think must have always existed, and it probably is always going to exist in a form. So maybe that is our conclusion.
I like that, Tom. Very well worded.
Well, so you have been listening to the Little Things in Life podcast. Next week, we're talking about social media.
We certainly are.
We might ask you your opinions on the age gap. I think we should incorporate some kind of listener interaction into our social media episode using social media. Yeah. And then we've got more different episodes. Obviously last week and the week before we did some different episodes. We've got some more different episodes coming up, so keep your ears peeled for those. Yeah, I think we've touched bases with pretty much everything we wanted to talk about this week.
Indeed. Well, thank you for listening.
I'm starting to enjoy these isolation podcasts because I can sit here in my silk dressing gown and just with my whiskey.
You wish.
And just chat shit in my room. It's wonderful. Yes. No. So we will ride. Until we ride again, listeners.
Until we ride again, indeed.
I've been Tom.
I've been Katie.
Stay safe out there.
Look after yourselves.
Bye.
See you next week.
I almost pressed hang up there on your call.
I can see what you're doing there, so.
Do your sea lion impression.
Or.
Do it again.
Or.
Yeah, that's recorded.